Hey, thank you for joining City Voters Live podcast. I'm your host, Desmond Stinney, and lucky enough today on this chilly Sunday to have a special guest in studio, Blanca Tapahuasco.
Yes.
Right? Give me the pronunciation on that.
That's correct.
Tapahuasco. Excellent. Thank you for coming up. I've been trying to get back into doing more of these podcasts for the community, and so much going on around, not just in Baltimore, but around the country. A lot of conversations that are happening on Baltimore city voters. And it's always good to just have people from the community just come up and I see that you're pretty active in the group, and I always want to recognize the people that, contribute to the dialogue. And, I get a lot of my information and kind of tips from you on the DL, and, what to look for and what to be paying attention to. So first off, I wanted to thank you for always keeping me in the loop on things that are happening and sending me little things to keep my eyes on. But talk to the folks at City Voters a little bit about who you are, where you live, and give us a little bit of your story.
Sure. So I am originally from El Salvador. I was adopted when I was 10 years old with my younger brother, raised in Baltimore County, northwest of here, and a place called Reisterstown. And my introduction to Baltimore City was when I was accepted to Maryland Institute College of Art. So after graduating high school, came to Baltimore City and started there working and had my own place, renting. And after a couple of years, I was a little bit hesitant of what having a student loan it involved when you're 21 years old and you have $10,000 loan. I thought, so I took a pause and worked and paid off that loan. Through that process, it really helped me to understand what it is, first of all, to live on your own, independent, yes, working. And
having responsibilities.
Of course, having a lease. And so from that time to now, about 25 years now, what I have focused on is to, once again, being fluent in Spanish, my first language. I had not retained it. I didn't have anyone to speak with. And so at 26, I decided I'm going to invest in myself. It took about 3 years to become fluent. And so my entire, I put it in my entire scope and why even I wake up in the morning are my 3 E's, and that is to promote a world-class education, increase parent engagement, and revive the entrepreneurial spirit. And that is what my focus is.
Excellent. And where do you live in the city?
I live
what neighborhood?
Right by Patterson Park, Highlandtown, where they meet.
Mm-hmm. Got it. And so originally from El Salvador, you said you came here when you were 10 years old.
Yes.
And that's one of the biggest reasons I wanted to have a conversation with you, because of your lived experience, right? You are an immigrant that came to your first generation, and you've especially with everything that's going on in the country today around that topic. I think what I'd like to see more and I want to hear from the people who have those lived experiences, because when you look at the groups like Baltimore City Voters, and you look at mainstream media, you see a lot of people talking, and a lot of those people that are talking haven't had the experience that you had. And even more frustrating is a lot of those people that are the talking heads don't really know or have any direct connection to people that are living that experience, and I don't know what is shaping their perspective. That's the thing that frustrates me, is what's shaping your perspective. Because I can tell you even if you go off topic here and talk about the situation that went down between Russia and Ukraine a few years ago, the first thing I did was get on the phone with anyone that I knew that was Russian, that had family in Russia, and anyone that I knew that was Ukrainian and had family in Ukraine. And you listen to both sides, but you got to listen to the people that are connected to what the subject matter is. So the thing that really frustrates me sometimes when I'm reading some of the comments and things of that is I want to hear, what is your connection to the issue that makes you any type of subject matter expert? So I think one of the main reasons I wanted to have this conversation right now in with you, as far as what's going on, is to talk about that topic of immigration. I want your perspective. I want
Sure.
to know how you feel about what's going on and what's happening. So if you can maybe spend some time to take us through high level what you see as the primary issues around immigration.
Well, also want to say that I'm going to share with you, since you had mentioned this is not something we rehearse. And we're not rehearsing for anything either.
No, we're just talking.
This is literally a conversation.
Exactly.
Where we are discussing issues that I would say perhaps they're delicate. They could be. But what I'm going to share isn't what I heard someone say, which is really important.
It's super important. The reason for the conversation. And there's the reason for no prep, no rehearsal, there's no script.
Yes.
We're just sitting here, two people in my basement with a couple of microphones. And just because I have a little bit of technical background, I know how to produce this stuff.
Of course.
So we're just two people, African-American man, Latina woman, and, because we're not the ones people are listening to when I look onto, city voters. It's a whole different demographic of people trying to shape a narrative and trying to, control how people feel around an issue that they have no connection to. So I thank you for pointing out the fact that we're just two people that got on the phone and said, hey, let's have a conversation in front of everybody. And I'm here to listen to you because even as a black man, I don't have the experience of being someone that's an immigrant to the country. And I'm just interested in want to hear from you, your thoughts and feelings about the issue.
Also, I think it's out of respect for anyone listening. I think we owe it to everyone to not have this, sometimes it's called a bird's eye view, I think it's called, that what I believe and think, because what I believe and think may not be based on what I actually experienced. And I want to premise what I'm about to say about immigration, that many people advocate because they understand part of the entirety, part of it. They may have families, neighbors, they may have students, and they may have learned even Spanish. I know people have learned Spanish to advocate and support immigrant families of all kinds of languages, not just Spanish. They have become bilingual in another. But what I want to share is what I have experienced, what I have heard directly from people, and also the effects. So I'll start with
which is a big part of it, the impacts. Because a lot of people talking don't have to live with any of the impacts or consequences of it. But go ahead.
Not at all, right. And so I'm going to start with, I was adopted. And so there was a legal process.
Right.
And before people turn off and say, legal, illegal, this is not a legal versus illegal, because I am the one who first did not make a decision about being adopted.
Of course.
That was outside of my duty. However, I'm very thankful that we were adopted together. My brother was 6 and I was 10. That's those ages are a lot higher than the average baby, infants, and toddlers age. Very thankful we were adopted together. Yes, it was a legal form to bring us here.
Sure.
And our parents, both my mom and dad, raised us to understand not that we were somehow privileged to be here, to like something was owed to us, or that we were somehow indebted. I want to set that record straight.
Right.
Our parents did, though, have compassion on these two individuals who, when I was 3 and my younger brother were only 4 years apart. He was only 3 months old. And our mom was killed by our father through domestic violence. One day it went too far. He took her life. We were separated. So he went with our grandparents, and then I was there with an aunt, I remember, and then another aunt, and then I ended up running away, going to my grandparents.
And this took place in El Salvador?
Yes.
Okay, right.
So I want those who are listening to understand that although I cannot carry the weight of someone else, that was very painful. It was unusual. That's not the type of childhood I wouldn't wish that on anyone.
Right.
So I experienced also various types of abuse before I was adopted. So I was a child who was really, really damaged. Damaged emotions and a damaged mentality. And when you are abused, people put your hands on you. It takes a long time to get to the point that you're comfortable, not in your body, but around others.
Right.
And so
Right.
I am thankful that my parents, very loving, supportive.
That you ended up in a safe environment.
Very. And
Yeah.
people even asked, I've heard horror stories, they would say. How was your experience? I cannot say anything, but what my parents did was self-sacrificing, and they gave us a great future. They no longer are living, but I honor them today.
And I can tell you that story, what your parents did to rescue you and other members of your family, that's what I would love to see people do. Like if you have this much passion for this issue and this subject, do that, right? That's an answer, right? That's an answer, right?
I promote adoption,
of course, and in sponsorship or however we can create pathways, right? Well, everyone wants pathways. Everyone wants diversity. Everyone wants immigrants to come to the country. Everybody feels the same way on that issue, and where I really get frustrated is when there's groups of people who try to make this seem like some type of a racial issue, or they take it down those paths and down those roads. Well, does racism exist? Obviously it exists, but it doesn't exist just here. I mean, there's racism in El Salvador. There's racism in Puerto Rico. There's racism in Mexico, right? The brown Latinos aren't treated the same as the fair-skinned Latinos. I mean, it's just that's going to happen.
There's racism between Mexicans and Salvadorians.
Absolutely, different nationalities, right?
Yes.
So it's this isn't that part of it is not unique, but it's an issue that's completely separate from the immigration issue.
It is,
right?
Right. That's
So
completely different.
It's a completely different thing. But these, there's folks out there that want to conflate those two together.
They want to come to an agreement, and they believe that converging issues would somehow, it has to fall on some kind of advocacy spectrum. To me, I've always said that whatever the issue is, if we take a proactive strategy mode rather than a reactive methods, a lot of reactive happens here. A lot of reactions happen. I call it, people can get riled up, but who's actually rising up?
Right.
Who's actually saying,
riled up and I love that.
Yes.
Yeah, they're two separate things.
Two separate things. And so with the issue of immigration, people might say, and I know people that are not, people say, I don't have papers. The first thing that I can, and this is honest, I teach English and Spanish. This is my 20th year of teaching freely English and Spanish weekly to students and adults, free of cost. The library gives me the space for free.
Yeah.
I do it online through Zoom. Go to people's homes for a safe setting. Why? Because I know I was a child that needed English. I was the only one in Mrs. Goldberg's ESOL class. I was the only Hispanic in my class.
Yeah.
And so my point is that let's take the what can I do?
Right.
not what can I say in order to sound relevant on a topic.
Right.
Because if we care that, if someone cared that much,
Right. Yeah.
because we're going to get to the point, I'm going to share some things with you that you'd be like, wow, this is the truth. I have, what do I have to gain to lie to you?
Right. Right.
That the issue of immigration is one that it seemed that it wasn't an issue until we were dealing with how the law was applied. Clinton, and this is not about R and the D and the G, Republican, Democrat, or Green Party, Libertarian, or any other affiliation. Clinton deported over 10 million individuals.
Right.
The first thing I hear is, oh, well, no one was killed. How do you know?
No. And that's
how do you know
one that's a lie.
How do you know
right.
that?
Obama has a list of
over 5.3 million. He was called deporter-in-chief by NBC.
But the number of deaths that occurred under Obama's deportation programs far surpassed anything that's ever going to happen
in the 50s.
In the current. Yeah, it's
it
like
was
56.
Over 50s.
It was 56 if I remember the number correctly.
Yes.
But yes, how the law has been applied, but then it's become a political football though. And the immigrants become the pawns in the game, right? So
of course.
So the issue is no longer about immigration
it's
itself.
No longer about the immigrants' needs.
Right. No, not at all.
No,
right.
It's no longer that.
Yeah.
Because 10 million over 10, about 10.3 million under Clinton.
Yeah.
5.3 under Obama.
Right.
Same. Tom Homan was the same.
He's been there for 15 years. Yeah.
And under Reagan as well.
Let me play this clip for you, so that we can highlight the difference in how the law has been applied through the different administrations, which you brought up, which I want to make sure that we stay there, because people wonder, why are we where we are right now? There's a few reasons for that. This is one of them. So this is a clip from, I believe it was 2016. Okay, so let's watch this for a minute and then let's circle back in.
Just before the sun rises in the Windy City, Immigration and Customs Enforcement agents fan out across Chicago to arrest criminals in the U.S. illegally.
Tac 1, Tac 2, Tac 3.
CNN was granted exclusive access to witness some of those raids.
We got 3 targets this morning. Some of the neighborhoods a little sketchy, so we got to make sure it's not just the target we're looking after, but other people around us.
They want to come out extra early, like right now, because they want to catch these people before they go to work. That's why it starts so early in the morning.
Ready to check? All right, let's roll, guys. A lot of things go through your head. Your adrenaline, blood pressure, of course, goes up when you're getting ready to do something like this. All right, that vehicle behind us is off limits.
How many people are involved with this operation particularly right now?
I have a 5-man arrest team here situated in this neighborhood here on the street. You see the stoop going up. I have a couple guys sitting right inside that stoop. This is part of what we do. Keep eyes on somebody and try to be as covert as we can. There we go. Is that him in white?
This may look organized, but in this moment, confusion.
There's always challenges we face when it's dark, somebody looks very similar to an individual.
ICE agents mistakenly arrest the target's brother.
In the process of talking to him in the vehicle, he then said, oh, no, I'm actually so-and-so. Who you're looking for is over here, this other address. He led us to that address, and we were able to actually arrest the individual we were looking for.
So that is how immigration enforcement used to be done under Obama. Okay. That is CNN on a ride along with ICE. Okay. On a ride along. They're looking for a particular target. Okay. That target, presents himself, and they thought it was the target, but it turns out it's not even the target. They put the wrong guy in custody at that point. The guy tells him, oh, no, I'm not the guy you're looking for, but here's where the guy is that you're looking for. It's his brother. And they go and they get the right target. and it's a successful operation. All right. What has changed that CNN now versus CNN in 2016 under Obama? And it's because of that is why we have what we have in the streets today. It's the way that the media is treating how the law is being applied. The law is being applied the same way. And beyond how the media treated it, it's how the local officials have treated it. You could go in under Obama, you could go to the jails, right, and get the bad guys before they're released.
Yes.
You had cooperation with local law enforcement to execute these warrants. You had the support of the media doing ride-alongs with you, right? So if you take those three things and put those back in play, then we have the same situations that we had under Clinton, as you mentioned, and under Obama and everyone else. So how is it that the narrative can be that, ICE is this group of Nazis when they're doing the same job they've always done? The conditions in which they are doing it have changed, right? So dramatically, in my opinion. If you are upset with, the airlines, okay, and you want to protest the airlines, do you think it would make sense to go into the cockpit of a flying plane and start blowing whistles and beating on pots and pans to protest the airline? Is that a valid protest against the airlines? No, you could get people killed, right? You're going to distract the pilots. The plane's going to go down. Well, I don't understand how these protests, these guys, they're going into the cockpit of law enforcement and they're blowing whistles and they're beating on pans and they're trying to interrupt them doing their job. And then we have the situations that we've had unfold. And at that point, it's no longer, this has become something that's not about the people,
It's not.
right? Because if that was the case, they would have been beating on pots and pans and blowing whistles in the ears of ICE 10 years ago. So what are your thoughts on that? Like, what do you see that has, what in your mind has changed so dramatically that the idea of being a protest being, I'm going to try to step in and I'm going to step into the cockpit of law enforcement and I'm going to try to make them crash the plane. Where are we as a society when that becomes the narrative that the media is helping to push? And more importantly, what's coming out of the mouths of our Democratic politicians right now? Go put your body on the line. That's what the lieutenant governor of Minnesota said. Told these people, go put your body on the line. Well, what happens when you tell someone who's unstable anyway to go put your body on the line? They're going to go put their body on the line. You're going to end up with an Alex Preddy situation. You're going to end up with a Renee Good situation when you do that, right? Walk us through how you feel about what you're seeing, today.
Well, first, that's the first time I've seen that clip. I've seen another clip when a CNN did a drive along, and notice one thing they said. They were seeking criminals who are here illegally. That narrative is not said that way anymore.
Right.
Because no one is assumed to be a criminal anymore. Because no human is illegal. Well, humans do commit illegal acts.
Right.
So, but who controls the narrative can sometimes control the noise. So you have to look at that as well. And one thing that was made clear as I watched that first time, I've never seen that. I don't watch a particular. I watch several. Like I'll read from different, the Banner, the Brew, the Sun, and whatever opinion people have about that. I'll watch different media, but hadn't seen that clip. I had seen another one. But what came to mind is that if you don't have the intel that law enforcement has, that does not give you the license to impede. So no intel, you should not be impeding.
Right. Well, you shouldn't be impeding.
Well, you shouldn't get in.
It's perfectly fine to protest the airlines at the airport, out on the sidewalk.
But protesting is fine.
Protesting
because
this isn't
the
protesting.
Constitution tells us we have a right to peacefully assemble,
Right.
to have any peaceful assembly,
Right.
that's actually written. That's actually written in the
Right.
Constitution.
Yeah.
However, what my thoughts are is that now what has changed is there's someone else who is the president of the United States. That's what has, not what has changed, who is in the White House. The hate, vitriol, the actual, I mean, we're talking about like coming out of the pores, seeping.
Yeah. Yeah.
It is so horrific
Right.
that people aren't separating facts from feelings.
Right.
They aren't even separating security from sound judgment.
Right.
You first being secure in who you are and where you are, while advocating that you want the same thing for someone else. I'm going to share this with you. What kind of security and safety net measure is when somebody shared with me she's from Venezuela. She
Right.
actually asked me if I knew how to write power of attorney. Now, I'm a notary public, but if I don't know something, I'll definitely connect someone to
Yeah.
the resource,
Right.
which I did because I certainly do not want to, I do not know enough. So, but
Did she give you some insight on the
She did.
Venezuela situation?
She gave me-
So that's what I love. I love the fact that something went down in Venezuela and you're talking to an actual Venezuelan about it.
Yes, she
Yeah,
is from
right.
Venezuela. She shared with me
Yeah.
that she is from Caracas, and she told me that flights were going out of Caracas. She was one of them. She got on a flight, one-way ticket to the U.S. They were running 24/7.
Right. Right.
People
right.
might think, "Oh no, come on, it's who believes that?" Well,
Yeah.
she told me that.
Yeah. What time frame are we talking about here?
This was November, it would have been in 2026. So she told me about it was between June and November last year. It was still within the last 6 months is when I met her. And she ended up communicating through WhatsApp just to ask, because first I shared with her about the English classes. First of all, people might think, oh, why are you offering English classes? Why are you offering Spanish classes? Because there's people that actually want to become bilingual.
Right.
And as you know, from just knowing me a little bit, maybe for the last year, maybe more of what I do, I'm very concerned about people that only speak English and can't read and write. And so that's how we originally met. When then we connected again and she asked for the power of attorney, I was able to say, I think that this organization may be able to help, but I'm not able to do that service. And she shared with me what was happening and how she got here. And this is not about, I blame so-and-so. The facts are that Biden had a border czar, also had Alejandro Mayorkas. Has nothing to do with race, gender. Mayorkas happens to be Hispanic. But what did they actually do to counter keeping immigrants safe?
Right.
Actually processing individuals, that were seeking asylum, but they allowed people to come in.
Right.
And the worst thing that happened to the immigrants is to put them in danger.
Right.
Because there were legitimate individuals fleeing.
Right.
They
Yeah.
are still fleeing from different countries, we understand.
Yeah.
But the idea of advocating, again, the reaction was, oh, the world is going through so much. Let's, the Statue of Liberty says but the Statue of Liberty doesn't say to put someone else before the other. Sabotage the actual
Yeah, there was a
policy.
process, there's always been a
sabotage.
process.
Always.
Yeah.
Always.
You just can't open the border and say, everyone in, or there has to be a process to it. It's what Ellis Island existed for, and for the last 5 years, and we can get into conversation about why that was the policy, and what they were thinking, when the lines of thinking along allowing that to happen, where just millions of people poured in. But the thing that I am really concerned about is that they're not concerned. There's no concern for the immigrant safety. If you are a Latino person and you come into the country and you come here illegally, you're not generally going to end up in next door to a lot of people that's doing all the talking.
That's correct.
You're going to end up where other
You're not going to end
are.
up in
Right.
in Canton, where professionals earning.
That's not where you're going to end up. But those are the people you hear talking, right?
course.
So they don't have to live with the impacts of it. So when that influx of people, you have a neighborhood that may be 3,000 or 4,000 people, all of a sudden it balloons to 7,000 people, right? And what used to take you 25, 30 minutes to do going to the grocery store now takes you an hour and a half when you got all these extra people around. I tell my kids, I say, hey, just think about one day you just come home and all of a sudden you got 3 more people living in your bedroom with you. Now you got to share that space. Well, that's what happens when you don't have any control over growth, right? And that's really what immigration is supposed to be. It's a control. It's not to keep people out. It's to let them in an intelligent way that it doesn't hurt everything else around it.
It's supposed to be complementary to
Right.
who we already are.
Right.
And there's still 1 million that are permitted to come.
Right. Yeah.
Yes. And so, again,
And let's not even get into the conversation of jumping ahead of everyone else that have been doing it the right way. Yeah.
I met someone that was working for a nonprofit, and he shared with me that people, and this is what he does. This is this is his work. He told me that people just had to claim that they were being discriminated because they were part of the community, part of the LGBTQ a plus community,
Right.
without any proof.
Yeah.
So we are taking in those who are disenfranchised, and to me, you don't see a black robe, and I'm never going to be a judge. Obviously, that's just not going to happen. However, I think the ignorance of thinking that everyone who said I need help,
Right.
that's
That's
ignorance.
not the case. Yeah.
It's ignorance.
And that in of itself, I mean, you have the applications for asylum. Everything
We
has
have
been
over 25 types
you're
of
supposed-
visas.
There's no vetting. There's no challenging the veracity of what the claims are at all.
None.
Right? They find a loophole and they say, "Hey, let's exploit the loop. Let's exploit that." Right? Which is shameful in and of itself. But going back to something you mentioned, that we talked about what the differences are now from the law being applied previously to the law being applied today. And I particularly, the media is supposed to be a source of truth for people.
Free press.
Well, yeah.
No bias.
You're supposed to have no bias.
Right.
But even if you have a bias, I can deal a little bit with bias. What I can't deal with is outright bold-faced lies, right? About what's happening in the world, because not everyone, like yourself or myself, is going to check multiple sources, right? And they're depending on what they're hearing from people they feel like they can trust. And you see these outlets and these organizations and these groups and these people who are pushing things that they know are patently false, and it's causing real damage, to not just to the society, but people are starting to have lost their lives in the last month. And when I think about it, when I look at it, I'm gonna play another clip for you. And this is from this is a clip interview with President Obama by Telemundo some time ago. And this is how the media, when people didn't like what you were doing, when people were protesting what it was you were doing, they didn't like your policy on something as a politician, as a president, or whatever. This is how it used to be handled. So let's just take a quick peek here.
last time we spoke, you said that you weren't king, you were president. There were only certain things you could do unilaterally. As time goes on, 1,000 deportations on average a day. People are wondering, and our Twitter feeds and Facebook feeds, that's the question everybody asks. Won't you at least consider unilaterally freezing deportations for the parents of deferred action kids?
Yeah. Here's the problem that I have, Jose, and I've said this consistently. My job in the executive branch is supposed to be to carry out the laws that are passed. Congress has said, here's the law when it comes to those who are undocumented, and they allocate a whole bunch of money for enforcement. Then essentially I would be ignoring the law in a way that I think would be very difficult to defend legally. So that's not an option.
You know, so back when America was sane, if you had a question about the president's policy, you sat down with him and you asked him a question and he gave you a salient answer. And that would be it. So why is it today when the president has a policy, and it's the same policy, the president today says the same thing, Congress has a set of laws, we are getting allocated money to enforce those laws, and we are going to enforce those laws. It's the same thing Obama said. So what is causing the difference where that answer is met with respect with President Obama, but it's met with people blowing whistles in ICE agents' ears? It's met with Democratic politicians in states and municipalities who are telling their citizens, go out into the streets and confront ICE agents with whistles and pans and biting off their fingers and spitting on them and kicking taillights off of their cars. Where did we go that far off the rails in just 10 years that a president who's just enforcing the laws that every other president has enforced, and even to a smaller degree than a lot of previous presidents, where have we gone, and why is it that Democrat politicians are telling their citizens, because you know who they're not telling to go in the streets?
The immigrants.
The immigrants. Number one. You know who else they're not telling to go in the streets and put their body on the line? The
black community.
Even they would love the black community to do it. They'd love for us to be out there getting our heads bashed in. But who they're not telling to go out in the streets is their sons and daughters, right? Is Tim Walz telling his son, hey, get out there, go beat some pans and blow some whistles? Is he telling his son to do that? Is he telling his daughter to do that? Is he telling his nieces to do that? No, he's telling other people to go do it, to go out into the street. And why? Why? What reason could Tim Walz have to tell someone, or his lieutenant governor, Peggy Flanagan, why on earth would she tell someone to go out into the street and put your body on the line?
Well, let's go back to briefly, Jose Ballard Diaz, a great reporter. Actually, he has a brother who is in the legislature in Florida. That's when you could ask a question, and also it might have, maybe President Obama maybe got the questions in advance, I'm not quite sure, but even if he did or didn't, there was order. There was an exchange.
Right.
Okay, he said, I would be ignoring the law.
Exactly.
I would be ignoring the law.
Right.
People understood. The president can't be ignoring the law. He said, funds are allocated, he said, for the enforcement.
Right.
Okay. So if somebody, and that's why, one day, as you know, my heart is for education, my heart is for engagement. I hope that we can open or have or develop a civics curriculum along with a financial curriculum.
Well, that's my next project, is the civics curriculum. I got the financial one going.
Yes, where people understand that it isn't, the president can do anything in no, there are three branches of government. There was order in the question, order in the response. Okay, he said I would be ignored. Yeah. I would, I can't ignore the law. He said the difference is that Donald Trump is the most triggering effect on people who, frankly, are so upset that we could not elect a first woman. And so now the diagnoses, they've taken a scan. It said, yep, he's trying to destroy democracy. Instead of looking, it's hard to look in the mirror. If you have a little slap here, somebody say, Blanca, you got a little, okay. And it's hard to look in the mirror and say, this Kamala Harris was able to raise billions of dollars.
Billions. From
billions of dollars.
From very wealthy people. Yeah.
She literally was in debt after the election. And people still say black, white, male, female. It has nothing to do. See, for me, I don't want to be the first Latino or first.
Yeah.
Don't be the first.
We got to lose the identity. You got to lose the identity of
be
it.
the first competent
right.
candidate.
Or be the best ever
yes.
of any.
And
right.
It's what I hear most is, Trump Epstein files. Trump is a pedophile. Trump convicted felon. But they don't look at one thing and say, Kamala didn't receive one vote. Did not receive one vote.
Not in the primary, yeah.
Not in the primary. Did not receive a vote to be a candidate. That's the first step.
Which would have been democracy. And a lot of people called for that. Number one, if you back up even further, subverting democracy is hiding the president from the world so that or admitting that he was not capable of fulfilling the job that he was in. So you've damaged your trust with, I'm a Democrat. I'm, born and raised Democrat, very moderate Democrat. I'm from Montgomery County here in Maryland. And, we're middle of the road. Back then we were. I don't know what the county's like now, but.
Very liberal.
Yeah. So it's.
In the Democratic Party, by the way, I used to be a Democrat.
Yeah.
I used to be.
Yeah.
And you know why I left? I left because I learned that individuals do not count. Issues end up getting bloated. Like you must be upset
that's
about.
That's what I can't. Yeah, that's what I can't. The undying allegiance that's required.
Exactly.
And that's the other thing. That's a great topic. That's a great segue into that because, as a Democrat, the minute you step on, especially with the white liberal Democrats, some on the African American side too, like they take it as some personal affront if someone has a difference of opinion. But the demonization of people who just will stand up and say, hey, this is not right. I'm not going to fall in line on this particular issue. They got a problem because us Gen X black men, we don't roll like that. Like the minute you meet us with force, we're going to meet you with a lot more force. So it's not going to work with us. It's not working with me. It's not going to work with Stephen A. It's not going to work with people like us. At the end of the day, we have now entered this moment where the party has put us in a position where it's like we're thinking, is our freedom of choice conditional on agreeing with you? Because that's not freedom. So what's the point of having freedom if I can't dissent from you and not be maligned or, just called horrible names and all these other things? I can tell you this, when a Republican found out I was Democrat, I never got a name called. No one ever, hey, we're just on opposite sides of the spectrum on this. That's fine. You still want to play basketball? Absolutely. Let's get this game in. But I've had Democrats, white Democrats especially, who have decided they can't even associate, not even because I'm Republican or MAGA, right? But because I don't agree with them on a particular issue, on one specific issue. So this forced, this idea that everyone must agree 100% of the time and be willing to go to the mat with the party on every issue, that's what's destroying the Democratic Party. because I'm never going to leave being a Democrat because I don't see those people as Democrats. They're the ones that need to leave.
I don't either.
Right. So
I don't either.
I'm saying, like, I think this will pass. Like, these people will, because they're lazy and they don't have any stamina. They're not gonna put the work in. They'll give up. And we'll get our party back. But we have to get to a point. I mean, we have this situation where, like you said, apparently Trump has this triggering effect on people where they have to, if he said ice cream is good, they say it's awful. If he woke up tomorrow and said ice cream is awful, they would say it's the best thing in the world. They have to disagree 100%. And that's not, I mean, and we're talking politicians as well as regular folks. That's not governing, right? Because this man, you can't disagree with him on 100% of things. There's just, then you're just living to disagree with that person. You're not serving the purpose of what you're there to do. Mm-hmm. And I think that we just need to take a beat here and recalibrate and say, hey, what's this all about? Is this about doing the best thing for everybody? Or is this about you trying to win a contest?
Mm-hmm. Also, the key word you just said, no one can disagree 100% on everything, but unless that's your objective. If my objective is to just oppose Blanca on everything, then but you can't. That's not governing. It's not possible. But also, I would add that disagreeing is fine. We can disagree on whether, like, say, give you an example, the tax bracket. Mm-hmm. Okay. If we were to call our representatives to say, would you be able to, maybe cap, you earned 60,000 up to 85,000. Could there be, could we pass legislation to cap everyone at? Okay, well, I don't think that 10% would be, but maybe 17. Yeah. Okay, that's a disagreement. But for them, it's not a disagreement.
Right.
The white liberals are dead set on opposing. When you oppose, there is absolutely no room at all.
Right. It's supposed to be a negotiation.
So it's like he is, truly, for them, orange man, bad.
Right.
If I repeat this again and again, orange man, bad, I literally believe, I would be willing to give you my next paycheck, which is in 2 weeks, that I believe people wake up first thing in the morning and they go to bed with the same hatred for one individual, but won't lift a finger to tutor one person.
Where or adopt a family. Right.
Where are the protests for children who are the same color as you and I? Mm-hmm. We're all different hues, by the way.
Yeah.
This is all, it's hues. Yeah. It truly is. But where are the protests for the children who did not get a proper education? Where, the people that protest sometimes don't even have their children in the public school system. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Because they have a means and a ways, a means and a way to get them a better education. Mm-hmm. And so their reactive measures do not align with the proactive strategy. Okay, they're all of them. All people should be treated equally, but you are maligning anybody that disagrees with you.
That sees something a little bit differently than you. Mm-hmm. And I learned this early in entrepreneurship. It's a negotiation. You're here, I'm there, and I learned this phrase early on that you've reached a really good negotiation when all sides are equally dissatisfied. Because no one's going to get everything they want, right? There's going to be some dissatisfaction on all sides. But if the dissatisfaction is equal amongst all parties, then you've reached a very successful negotiation, at the end of the day. And so having this, I don't know what to call it. This is a phenomenon, because I don't think that in my 53 years on this planet, I've never seen a group of people, especially a group of people this large, that just have one individual that they're fixated on.
They're
and
obsessed.
this is becoming a fixation.
No, they're obsessed.
Yeah, they're obsessed with this. So the issues, the underlying issues no longer matter.
No.
The underlying issues no longer matter. The people involved in those underlying issues no longer matter. Right?
The issues in the individuals doesn't compare to the irritation they feel. Just remember that.
Right.
The issues and the individuals,
Right.
no, they don't compare. In other words, if you had a graph,
Yeah.
if you had a graph,
Yeah.
they care about the individual 10%. Okay. Issues, let's give them 40%. There's 10 and 40, 50. Okay. But then it's like the chart, it's like a rocket. They're like, don't talk to me about something I hate, someone I hate, someone. For them, fighting for democracy or defending democracy or fighting the oligarchs, love that.
Right.
You know, AOC and Bernie Sanders take a plane across
Private plane. Yeah.
across the United States to fight oligarchy. John Kerry does the same thing. He does the same thing. And so, but I have to be protected.
Yeah.
Okay, I need the protection. And so again, when the individual and the issues, that's what you have on the T-shirt. You know, I care for all people.
Right.
But the heart of the matter is their irritation.
Yeah.
You can't compare it.
And if
It has never happened also because we're coming up, you know, when he announced for the first time that he was running, and then he won in 2020. People say, oh, you know, how could you vote against your own interests? I've heard that. I have text. I have text
2016 is when he ran and won. But voted. That's my favorite one. Like, how racist is that statement? You're voting against your own interests.
Somebody
Like,
said that
I
to
need
me.
to. They said to me all the time. They need to tell me what my interests are.
Well,
Right.
they're assuming what they are.
Well,
They're
no.
assuming.
They're
Oh.
telling you what your interests are. That's what they're doing. They're telling you, hey,
Oh.
they're telling you what your interests are, and it's what they want your interests to be. Right? You don't get to decide what your interests are on your own. Right? So, I find that group of people the most racist people on the planet. They are by far the because. You know, the people that they want to label as racist, if you don't want to deal with me, you just won't deal with me. But those folks are the ones that try to control you and try to manipulate you, and they try to hijack your emotions, right?
That takes me to one point. I believe some won't even run for office, but they'll have others because they have to control that individual.
Right.
They have to say, hey, a lot of them won't run. A lot of them will run in a slate, you know, 1, 2, and 3. We're team this number, district, congressional, not congressional, but local district. And I think to myself, would they win individually? Will they run for office? Like you said, we brought it up again. Will they sponsor? People may say, well, you can't sponsor somebody who is not legally yours. Adoption can happen. You can adopt, if you are vetted to adoption, you can adopt anyone from any place in the world. And so again, it's the individuals and the issues do not match the irritation that keeps continuing. It's on an increase. The irritation is on an increase. Many, I just don't believe that they would ever put their name on a ballot, but they will advocate for so-and-so because they can control the narrative. Whoever controls the narrative of the liberals right now controls the noise level.
Right. And they had they had a monopoly on narrative for a while. For a good while, because I think when social media really started to rise in the mid-millennium, Facebook came out, and then Twitter, and the liberals really controlled those platforms.
Yes,
and then not only did they had control of the platforms, and they were the gatekeepers of information. So you just didn't have, they were in an echo chamber. They created these huge echo chambers where even if you had a different opinion from the people that were the loudest in the room, you didn't dare voice it because dealing with the backlash of it wasn't.
It can cost you a job.
Yeah, it wasn't worth it at that
It
point.
can cost you contract.
So I look at what Elon did is basically like, I think he saved the world really by taking Twitter. And now you're seeing that Facebook is no longer censoring certain types of content.
Which, by the way, they were found to have done.
Oh, they admitted it.
When
They
people
admitted it.
people kept saying, no, we're not being censored. I know a national syndicated radio host who they shut down
Right.
his page. He
Yeah.
lost all contacts.
Right.
They shut it down.
They shut it down.
When
Yeah.
he made his assessment, people say, whatever you think about the vaccines, whatever you think about COVID, we talked about, you and I, before we started the podcast, how bad we got it. But you couldn't possibly say that perhaps some people can decide to have the vaccine or not.
Right.
He got shut down for that.
Got shut down. Yeah, and it was the administration. It was the Biden administration.
Yes.
And I mean, this all is on the record in congressional hearings
But
at
they
this
kept
point.
saying that it wasn't happening.
They said it wasn't. They said they weren't.
that's-
What they did is they tried to wrap it into this cute little phrase, which is we're controlling disinformation. Right.
Right. They were controlling. They were censoring.
Right. But for me, the way I was brought up is the only word I hear out of that. I don't hear disinformation. I don't care about that because that's your opinion. What I hear is control. Right.
Yeah.
You want to control, and that's what you were doing. And anyone and all of the vitriol of people calling that, all of that's a way of trying to control you. So when people say something negative to you, they're trying to control you. In that moment, they're trying to control your emotions, right? They're trying to control whether or not you get angry. But I'm fortunate enough to have, like a great upbringing where I learned very early that, you know what, if you walk around life caring about what people say about you that don't know you, and don't give a damn about you, if you worry about what they say or think, you'll drive yourself mad, right?
It will.
So there's
drive you.
there's I can count on two hands how many people on this planet I care what they say or think. So have at it. Call me any name you want. I'm laughing and I'm showing it to people that I care about and love, and we're laughing we're laughing at you. So but that's an attempt. Every time someone name calls, every time someone tries to demean you, degrade you, dehumanize you, they're trying to control you. And I just love showing that, hey, I'm unfazed, but you're the one mad enough to be calling me names. So who's in control here? And you mentioned something earlier about disagreements, and I wanted to circle back to that real quick because one of the other things I learned very, very early on is that there's so much value in disagreement. It's overrated to just agree with someone all the time. There's no one I'm going to agree with all the time. But the way that I see a disagreement, and sometimes it's a negotiation, like you were talking about with the, like setting the policy on tax rates. But sometimes it's more, a societal issue and things like that. But disagreements, they present two real opportunities. And if everyone looked at it this way, and I was taught this, as a young man, disagreements gives you two opportunities, two really important opportunities. Number one, it gives you the opportunity to articulate your position to someone, and perhaps something you say will stick with them. It's an opportunity to present your case, to present your side. But everything in life is reciprocal, right? So I have to look at it as an opportunity for you to articulate your case to me. And if I'm listening and hearing you, I might find something that helps me better form my worldview on that particular topic, right? So it's supposed to be an exchange of two people that have some level of human respect for each other, to articulate their position. It's not, the purpose of that articulation should never be that I want to change your mind.
Never.
And that's the first thing that all these people on City Voters want to do. I want to change your mind. If I can't, I'm going to degrade you, dehumanize you for not changing your mind. I never talk from a perspective of trying to change your mind. I am only talking from a perspective to help you understand where I am. That's it. That's the whole, I'm articulating where I'm coming from. It's not to tell you that that's where you should come from at all, And I think a lot of the discourse and a lot of what we see and some of the negative exchanges is their whole purpose for communicating is flawed from the beginning, because it's become a means to try to control how other people think and what they how they feel about things. And
it's great to have a personal platform to say, look, based on the personal experience,
right?
Okay,
Yeah.
My platform on this issue is what's yours?
Right.
What's yours? Now,
oh, they'll flip the conversation on you as soon as you do that. you try to make them be accountable. But go ahead. I'm sorry to interrupt.
No problem. But it should be an exchange to not sometimes garner support for you,
right?
But to say, let me hear your perspective, because I am not, like income tax. People say, well, income tax, sales tax, property tax. I don't know enough about it. Okay. Now, you're not going to take the position that, look, well, this is how I feel about them. You're going to educate someone. And that's what
something.
people, yes,
right.
And you might learn something. Like somebody says, hey, I don't know the difference between a sales tax and income tax. And they might feel like, they're 40 years old and they don't know enough or something. And they ask you, I don't think somebody, if they're really genuine want to know, okay, how can we make sure that immigration law is enforced in this certain way and okay? No, they want to go into like, no,
they've already got the conclusion.
I don't want to even talk about it.
Yeah.
Immigration, block ice, you're like, okay, you're not even sticking with the issue. Okay, again, and you want to go back, and it's almost like very elementary again, saying, okay, do you want me to tell you how I feel about it, or do you want me to know what the actual code, not the exact number,
what the facts are,
right? So if somebody were to say, I don't know the difference between income tax and sales tax, can you tell me, Desmond? I'm a little bit, confused about it. What is income tax? What's sales tax compared to? They're not asking you how do you feel about it. You would say, well, sales tax currently, it's 6% in the state of Maryland, and you are educating the person. If you don't know, people should say that. People should say, I don't know enough about this issue.
Right.
But again, issues and individuals do not matter as much as I got to increase my irritation level because I'm about to, it's such a, I don't even know how to explain it because I've never seen it, that somebody could hate someone so bad.
Yeah.
So not so bad. Somebody could hate someone so much that the bad of what they or what they can't name to be bad policy, it's so. I don't know how I don't know how they're not. I think they're frustrated. Maybe I don't know.
I don't even know how they're functioning.
How do they? Yeah. How do this frustration? How can frustration about something you are hateful towards come to your mind to say, I don't like what's happening, but I have a solution. Can I propose it? Right. No, they don't want to propose solutions.
No, just chaos.
They don't want to propose solutions.
Well, that's because their objective. That would to think that they could propose a solution would be to assume that it's the issue that's important to them. That's not important to them.
That's
right?
true. Yes.
Right.
If you want to propose a solution, you have the issue in mind.
The issue has to be at mind. That's not what's top of mind for these people. They hate this president, and there's nothing that he could do that would be right. He literally could stand in front of them and solve the Rubik's Cube, and they would say, you didn't solve it, right? I mean, and that's the phenomenon that I'm trying to put my finger on. I've been talking about this with people close to me. What is this phenomenon? Because in 2000, I think it was 2008 when President Obama ran the first time, and this is back when we had responsible people on the planet, and there was a point in the campaign where racist people were trying to say he was a Muslim and a terrorist and all this other stuff. And there's this great moment on the campaign trail where John McCain said, he gives a microphone to this elderly white woman, and she says, I don't like Obama. He's a Muslim and he's a terrorist. And John McCain pulls the microphone back and says, no, he's not. He's not any of those things. He's a good Christian, God-fearing man like me, and we just happen to disagree on political strategy and policy. He's a Democrat and I'm a Republican. He's not a Muslim. He's not a terrorist. And it was a moment where McCain had to make a decision. Do I play into this to win the campaign, to get these votes? Do I feed into it because it could energize me and possibly put me over the top? Or am I going to be a good American and not let people leave this rally believing something that's not true? And it was a level of character that I was a younger man at that time, and just becoming, politics at that time were starting to become important to me. And it was Barack Obama as the first, as the African American president. Everybody had to pay attention at that point. But when that's something that sticks with me today. And as I watch everything that's happening around us, and then I listen to Obama every once in a while and how he puts out his statements. And I think that 44 needs to remember what was done for him, right? What John McCain did for him. And it wasn't just for Barack Obama, it was for the United States of America. And until we have a real leader and a real champion of democracy and a champion of our country to step up on the Democratic side and do what John McCain did.
John Fetterman is getting close.
He's there and he's done it. He just doesn't have the stature, right? John Fetterman, I posted in the group, I'm a John Fetterman Democrat when he did what he did. I mean, there are those guys. The congressman from Minnesota was one of those guys that they ran out of the party. Can't remember his name off the top of my head. Dean Phillips. There are guys out there that have a head on their shoulders, but they don't have enough that the entire party is going to stop and reevaluate and recalibrate itself. Barack Obama still does. And he knows at any time he could stop this. He could literally stop it in its tracks because John McCain did it for him. And he did it for the country, and he did it for his love of the country. And my question is, does President Obama have it in him to do what needs to be done for this country? Because we should not have any more ICE agents getting their fingers bitten off. We should not have any more American citizens being gaslit to the point that they're carrying guns to go confront ICE. And don't get me wrong, I still think Alex Preddy was unjustly shot and killed. But that's not to say he didn't contribute mightily to that situation. But I think he was spun up to be where he was by people that knew it could end up there. I think Renee Good was where she was. But I can't understand how the president, 44, can stand idly by and watch this after what was done for him and let this continue to happen. Because as we've seen in the CNN clips, as we've seen from Obama's own words that I showed you tonight, the law is the law, and it's supposed to be enforced. And if you don't enforce it, you're actually breaking the law. And the President Obama's told you he would not do it because it would be breaking the law. And it's a moment. It's a moment in our country. It's a moment in time where it calls for leadership, and it calls for leadership from people that have the gravitas and have the platform to change the entire course. And John McCain did it, and I think President Obama needs to step up and do it. I want to thank you for coming up and joining me tonight on City Voters Live. I think there's a lot more topics that we need to cover, and it's going to require a second for us to sit down again and talk more about this and talk about some more of these issues and more some things we didn't get to on a local level. But I hope that people will see us sitting together, two minorities. Couldn't be black man, Latino woman, sitting here, and we're telling, like, guys, this can't be about your hatred of another individual, because there's actual humans that are being impacted. So try to take yourself out of the equation. Get yourself a conversation with some people from Venezuela. Get yourself a conversation with some people that differ from you from a political standpoint. There's no need to stop talking to people, because if you can't talk, it's all over. If we can't continue to talk to each other, it's all over. And we have to be able to disagree, and we have to be able to allow each other to articulate our positions without dehumanizing them, without demeaning them, and without trying to make them seem like they are the worst, that the world has to offer. That's just not, it's not American. It's not what we're about. It's not supposed to be what we're about. But Blanca, thank you for coming out. And, I look forward to sitting down with you again. And it's been a real pleasure.
Thank you so much.